Hi, I'm Tony, and today the crop I'm presenting is corn, also known as maize. And did you know that corn is the most widely grown crop in the United States? Okay, so where corn is mainly grown is in the Midwest, and it is mostly used for livestock feed, about 40%. 30% is used in ethanol production, and then most of the rest is used for human eating products like corn syrup. And what I'm researching today mostly is herbicide tolerant corn. And the environment that it is grown in is mostly dryland farming. So for anyone who doesn't know, herbicide tolerant corn is corn that can stand up to herbicides that are meant to kill weeds that take their nutrients. Okay, so here's our first graph, and this one is on trait frequency of herbicide tolerant corn in the corn population over time. Here's our generations and our percentage of corn that is herbicide tolerant. It was genetically engineered in 1996 and then starts to climb for the first 10 years to about 20%, and then it skyrockets over the next 10 to about 90%, where it is flatlined until the present day. Okay, so our second graph is about the distribution of herbicide tolerant corn in the generation of 2010 to 2015. And here's our trait variation of herbicide tolerant and not herbicide tolerant. Here's our millions of acres. Herbicide tolerant dominated about 79.1 million acres compared to 13.3 million acres of non-herbicide tolerant corn. And our third graph is on the environment that our herbicide tolerant corn is grown in. Here's our type of farming, dryland and irrigated. Then over here is the millions of acres grown of herbicide tolerant corn. So for dryland farming, it was 75 million acres versus irrigated farming, which was just 11 million acres. Okay, so here's how herbicide tolerant corn was created. So first off, they wanted to make corn that could resist Roundup, which was used to take away weeds in the soil. So first off, they found a bacteria called this, I can't pronounce it, and it was resistant to glyphosate, which was in Roundup or other herbicides. And then they put that bacteria into corn DNA. So now that created herbicide tolerant corn. All right, here's how natural selection works. Here's an imaginary species of birds that relies off of worms that are in holes in the soil to survive. They use their beaks to catch them. So naturally, the longer beaked birds are able to get worms easier than the shorter beaked birds. Because of this, they will be able to live longer and be able to reproduce more, rather than the shorter beaked birds not being able to get enough food and being able to live long enough to reproduce. This means that the trait of the long beak will be passed down and there will be more long beaked birds, whereas the little beaked birds won't be able to live long enough to pass down their trait and have more small beaked birds. Here are the 4 factors of evolution in herbicide tolerant corn. First off, variation exists. Basically just herbicide tolerant corn was invented. And then competition for resources. Herbicide tolerant corn could be in soil with herbicides, therefore it had no competition. Differential survival. Because of this, it was able to survive more because of all the nutrients it could get from the soil. Therefore, it was grown more and it was more frequently planted. That shows a frequency change. Also shown in our graph as the population of herbicide tolerant corn goes up. Here's the evolution of corn by people. In 7000 BC, teosint was domesticated into modern maize. In 2000 BC, more domestication made better applicability and yield. 1500s through 1800s, the spread of corn went worldwide after European contact. 1900s through present, hybrid corn is developed for higher yield, and then genetic alteration creates different resistances and tolerances, one of which is our herbicide tolerant corn, which we can see some stats on here on this page. Because of all the human changes like these, it has made corn into a great crop that we grow worldwide today.